Hey, this is Jeff, and this is our first recording of the Atari 8-bit Game by Game cast. Today we're going to take a look at a game in the letter A for our first episode. And that game is Axis Assassin, which you can see on the screen right now. This is the title screen for the Atari 8-bit version. Let's read a little bit about Axis. I can't say that word very well, but don't worry about it. Axis Assassin from around the internet first. So let's take a look. This is from the Moby Games page. It was released in 1983 on the Apple II. It came out for the Commodore 64 and the Atari 8-bit. Let's take a look at the screenshots to see the differences between the two. So the Apple II is here. Let's zoom this in a little bit. Apple II is here. It looks like pretty much like Tempest, although it's not exactly like Tempest. And then here are the Atari 8-bit, a little bit washed out colors, but still good. And the Commodore 64, all of them looking pretty much the same. The review, let's go with the overview of the game. Axis Assassin is a mix of Tempest and Asteroids. Axis Assassin has you piloting a spaceship across a series of grids, blasting away at the Master Arachnid and his army. Armed with only lasers and a single pulse bomb per level, which wipes out all enemies on the screen, your ship can travel up, down, left, and right across the grid, avoiding enemies and the webs they weave. Destroy all the enemies and you'll be sucked down the grid into the next level. Release a pulse bomb, and that's the spacebar I think on the Atari 8-bit, when the Master Arachnid appears, and you'll be transported to the nest where you have a chance to earn an extra ship. Good to know. Let's take a little bit of a look at some reviews. The review scores for the Commodore 64 were, in the 20s and the 70s and the 60s. Let's read a little bit from Telematch, the German Atari 8-bit review, and we're going to translate that right now, right in front of your eyes. This says, "So much for the game," so they must have described the game. "Now for the critique. From a programming perspective, this electronic arts title is undoubtedly top-notch. Whether or not you want to take the cover text, which concludes with "It's a beautiful way to die," seriously, is up to each player. But apart from the extremely fast gameplay, which constantly tests your reaction time to the limits of endurance, and the quasi three-dimensionality, Axis Assassin offers little. We'll be the judge of that. Let's take a little bit of a look at the Atari 8-bit information from Atari Mania. Here are a couple of screens. Here's the title screen and the second title screen, or actually the title screen and then the grid select screen. This is the difficulty select. It goes from easier to hard. Let's see. Electronic Arts, 1983, a U.S. release by John Field. Now there's another release, and we'll see that in a second. I think it's by Acorn Soft. We'll check a look. That's the UK release. Oh, Areola Soft. Areola Soft, it was released also, and that's where we get our review. Here's a little look at the front cover of the disc version. You have a big gloved hand with a fire button. Okay, so let's take a look at the Atari user review. We're not going to read the entire thing, but we'll get to the end. This is by David Andrews. However, you'd be well advised to start on the earlier screens, on the higher levels. So if you start at the higher levels, you want to pick an easier screen. You can pick from 1 to 3. We'll see that. The game kept me interested for a while, but lacked the variety to make it really addictive. The graphics are acceptable, but not up to the Atari's capabilities. All the characters and scenery are based on wireframe shapes. Well, it's a vector game. It's one of Areola Soft's, actually, Yay. Mid-price series. It's on Areola Soft's mid-price series. So the disc will only set you back £9.95, which was pretty much $17 to $20. So that was a lot. But they had a cassette cost $7.95. Okay, so let's get into the game a little bit here. We're going to play it. And let's start it up. Okay, so what I found here is that oops, they come after you. You can okay. You can move back and forth, so you can fire back and forth, but you don't need to play Tempest-wise. You don't need to go up across like you would in Tempest like this. You can just stay in one lane. Well, you'll get killed. Let's try that again. Okay, so let's just watch. I will. So you can turn backwards and forwards and fire. So you don't really need to play Tempest-wise, at least on these first levels like this. You're just going to stay in one lane like this. Oops. See, they'll come get you at some point, so you do not have to back and forth. You can kind of stay, at least on these early levels, you can stay. Okay, let's grid select. I just want to leave I don't want to play harder grid. Oh, okay. I'm gonna stay over here for. Ooh. Wow, that's hard. Let's try it. Let's go let's play that grid right there. Ooh. Yeah, playing upside down is not easy, but let me give you a little review first before we go any further. I like it. I think it's actually a little bit better in some ways than a simple version of Tempest. We're going to try to fire at the spider and go to its lair. The reason being, because you can turn back and forth, it's kind of got that little je ne sais quoi to it. That it's not better than Tempest, but it's good. And I never thought this game was very good. I don't know if I've really played it too much, but this was the only Tempest clone that was available for the Atari 8-bit. I think there might have been a game by Analog or Antic. We'll get to that one too at some point. But it's better than I ever thought it would be. This is going to get we're going to be rating things on the number of vertical blanks I'm going to give it. Right now it's sitting at 7 vertical blanks out of 10, or 70 vertical blanks out of 100. So that's pretty good. But let's see if we can move that up or down by playing some more of it. Okay, so let's start on this grid again. We're going to try and get to that spider. I tried to get to the lair by doing his thing. Let's see, like, didn't get to him. That's the kind of super zapper. You press the space bar. The problem is you got to take your finger off the button, and I'd like to see on some of these emulators if you could map button presses to joystick presses. I know you can do it with joy to key. I may have to, joy to key. I may have to do that. I got to get down there. Maybe I fly down there. Can't go any further down there. Didn't work. Let's try this a little bit more. Oops. I tried to fire it and the game reset. Okay, well, let's go back to we'll go back to the Atari Mania page. Let's talk about this game a little bit. So Atari Mania users gave it a 7.3 out of 10. That's really close to what I was going to give it. I'm going to give this 7.5 or 75 vertical blanks out of 100. Okay, that is the first episode of Atari 8-bit game by game cast. Until next time, have fun playing your Atari 8-bit in your vertical blank.